So shall we begin? Go back a little. He speaks of the dubious godhead. The dubious godhead, because it's difficult to call this power a god, because he makes you suffer. But without it, there cannot be brought about any change that the divine must bring and manifest in the world, unless the divine himself goes down into the world of suffering. It reminds me of the poem The Pilgrim of the Night. As if the Lord himself has to come down into the darkness and from there really show the pathway towards eternity. So he has to come down into the night. Savitri has to come down into the suffering, into the world of darkness and death. How else can this world be transformed? Therefore, this is a dreadful strategy. It's painful. He measured the difficulty with the might. The greater the power, the greater the difficulty. This is a universal law. The stronger have to face greater battles, the weaker, lesser battles. And dug more deep the gulf that all must cross. For her, the gulf was deeper. All have to pass through the valley of death and pain and darkness. There is otherwise no possibility of progress or change. If we want to escape pain, then we escape also the higher joy. We remain where we are, the way we are. And so it is the strategy of the divine that he makes us go through the valley of darkness. And then there is a yearning for a greater light. Assailing her divinest elements, he made her heart kin to the striving human heart. Her divinest element is love. This is the description on the previous pages. She was the one who could really manifest that great power of renewal, of change, of grace, which is born out of love. This is the divine love. It is there that the force of evolutionary change, which is a dubious God, in a way, hit her. Where she loves most, there she must hurt most. Assailing her divinest elements, he made her heart kin to the striving human heart and forced her strength to its appointed road. So sometimes we too can perhaps remind ourselves, because we are always busy trying to avoid suffering and pain. Not that we should invite it, but we should recognize the power of progress and change and ultimately transformation that is hidden in the darkness. The darkness is the home of light. It is from there that a new light and a new dawn is born out of night. The two are not opposed to one another. We often think that they are, but they are not. For this, she had accepted mortal breath. To wrestle with the shadow she had come, and must confront the riddle of man's birth and life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night. So this is the purpose of her embodiment. The Divine Mother who has come down on the earth, the eternal has become mortal, just so that the mortal may learn to become immortal. That is the example that she has come to give. She has to go through that. Otherwise, man will say, I can't do this. What you're asking of me is too difficult. You are divine, for you it is not difficult. But we are not aware that we are divine. We are aware only of our mortality. How can we do what you are asking us to do? If only you knew what we have to go through. So the divine says, I also will go through this. And I'll show you the way by becoming like you. And then I can tell you that you can change because I have changed. This is the explanation Mother gives several times, the significance of the avatar. The avatar is the divine who has put on humanity knowingly, voluntarily, only so that the human can become the avatar as well. Each of us has the divine inside us. We all are embodiments of the divine, and we are not aware of it. That divinity is hid deep somewhere in the recesses of our nature. We are aware only of the surface personality, which is shallow, which is weak, which is imperfect, which has all kinds of different shades of light and darkness, but nothing of the supreme presence. But then the next line, to wrestle with the shadow, she had come. This is an interesting image. Shadow. Shadow has no substance. Shadow is not something that is, it's a projection of some substance. It's a projection of darkness. Is death really not real? He suggests that word, shadow. There is no reality. It's a non-being. And yet this non-being occupies our world, has all the control over our existence. We live to die. That is the goal of our existence. And this is really a projection of the supreme light. Only if there is light, there can be shadow. There is no shadow by itself. Shadow doesn't exist on its own. Does death then exist? Or is it, as he will say later in the book, it's a mask of the divine? Death, the dim mask, had grown a wonderful face. This is what Savitri sees in Book 11. The mask is not the face. But today we see the mask. We don't see the face. And it is a very powerful mask. It has control over all life. All life is slowly moving towards death. But who controls life? The origin, the supreme, the divine. Life is a projection of his energy. Death is he. But we just see the mask. We don't see the face. So she has come to, and we see the mask and we are afraid. For us, we are controlled by death because we are controlled by fear of death. Fear is the main thing. So therefore, she has come to remove that fear which is so deep-rooted in our subconscious, in our unconscious. It's a very long battle. So she has come to fight that battle for us. We can't fight it by ourselves. To wrestle with the shadow, she had come, and must confront the riddle of man's birth and life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night. This is the riddle. There's a book that he has written, The Riddle of the Birth. Why are we born? Only to die? Why take so much time and trouble to learn, to achieve, to acquire, to have success, to have happiness, whatever we are looking for. When we really, if we sit quietly, we know it's not going to last. Nothing is going to last. So why take so much trouble? Or is it that some part in us is always aware that there is another power deep inside us? And it is that power that guides and controls and rules all things. Otherwise, this world as it is seems to be an illusion, as many thinkers and sages have said. And yet that very beautiful poem of Aurobindo on life, where he says, mystic miracle, daughter of delight, life, thou ecstasy, let the radius of thy flight be eternity. So the radius of the movement, life is movement, life is a journey, life can be an endless journey, eternity, because it is the origin. The origin of life is Ananda, daughter of eternity. It has its source there. And that Ananda is never ending. So why have we plunged ourselves in darkness and blindness and ignorance? But this is the whole game. This is the battle, that we have fallen very low just so that we can rise very high. What goes down goes up. Aurobindo describes the whole evolutionary process as a vertical spiral. It's not a horizontal spiral, it's a vertical spiral. What goes up comes down. What goes down very low goes up very high. So it is this, often we have to go down very low, into the very pit of inconscient. We are already there, but if we can consciously make use of that experience in order to aspire, to climb, to purify our natures, purity cannot exist unless there is fearlessness. There is this cloud of fear that covers us. That has to go. One can look straight at things and realize there is nothing that exists except the divine. So it is, otherwise, it is life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night. This is our pointless existence. A few years, and then we go back to inertia. We are born from night, we go back to night. We are born in ignorance, we go back to ignorance. We are children of the inconscient, and we go back to that inconscience. We have two mothers, therefore. We are children of light and children of darkness. It's for us to decide who is our real mother. Because we are tied to both, attached to both. So this is the issue. This is the central issue of this canto. Whether to bear with ignorance and death, which is what we do. We'll carry the burden of ignorance, automatically we crash into this total inconscience, and that is death. Has she come to repeat this? Because she has also put on humanity as a robe. So whether to bear with ignorance and death, or hew the ways of immortality, or break new ground, cut a path which has not yet been cut up to now, to hew the ways to immortality from where we originally came. We came from there, we have to find our way back. We have lost the way to go back to that from which we came. But the path is forgotten. There are lots of... This is a very ancient theme. Even in the West, you have one of the first books, which is not really it's a prose book, it's not really a novel, but it's called The Pilgrim's Progress. The Pilgrim's Progress is that, to find the way back to heaven. Heaven is not the Christian heaven. Heaven is the eternal. But the way back is very difficult. There are all kinds of quicksands and places where we may really stumble and fall. So the hero in that book is called Christian. And he has to make his way. This is not, therefore, something that is new. It has been there somewhere in the spirit of man that we really are not meant to die. And so that sense of finding a way back, the solution is that you can leave your body here and your soul will go back to the divine. That is an incomplete solution. Why must I leave my body down here to go back to the world from which I came? Because the one who made the soul made the body too. Matter is also his. So why must I allow it to be completely destroyed? That is always a compromise. The human mind likes compromises, half solutions. But this is not a solution. So she has come to find a true solution to the issue, to the problem. Whether to bear with ignorance and death or hew the ways of immortality, to win or lose the godlike game for man. Man, will he live the life divine, or will he accept the victory of death and destruction? She is experiencing the whole life of man. It's a game, it's a gamble, because man's attachment to the lower nature is very strong. The roots go down very deep. The symbolic poem of the tree. The tree wants to reach heaven, but it is earthbound. It is trapped in the darkness. Therefore, it neither goes deep, the roots go down, but the tree goes up. But the tree never reaches heaven. Man is like that. He's part of both worlds. So it's a gamble. To win or lose the godlike game for man was her soul's issue, thrown with destiny's dice. This is the gamble. So you often have in mythological, symbolic stories the game of dice. It's not part of a story, it's a symbol. Are we going to be freed from our littleness, our darkness? We can do so if we find that the divine is present within us and therefore can divinize our human life. But we have forgotten. So she has to go through the same experience. But she's going to win. She has not come to repeat the same experience and leave it at that. But not to submit and suffer was she born. To lead, to deliver was her glorious part. So this is the heroine. So we realize that grace is also power. love, wisdom, and force are three aspects of the same. The different aspects of the one mother. It's not that they are different mothers, they are one. She has come, she's a warrior princess, she's the daughter of a great king. To lead, to deliver was her glorious path. So again a description that she is human but not quite like other people. Something Aurobindo has said about mother repeatedly. She was above the human even as a child, he says. She was human, but she was above the human even as a child. So here was no fabric of terrestrial make. She's not made of the same stuff. Fabric is cloth, fabric is stuff. So we realize that we pay so much outer attention to our outer fabric, outer clothes. Your body, your life, your mind, these are your clothes. And there is wear and tear and there is pain and suffering, but that is not what we should relate to. If we can project that inner consciousness and the outer nature, there is automatically, the outer nature becomes a reflection of the inner being. That is the transformation. But we don't believe it. So our fabric is terrestrial and therefore it is tied to the mud, it's tied to something that is dark. Here was no fabric of terrestrial make, she is different. Fit for a day's use by busy, careless powers. That's our life, a day only. We live for a day, for a little while. It's like our clothes. You wear them, after some time you wear them and then they are torn. You throw them away. They don't really are any good any longer. There are powers to destroy. There are forces everywhere. Busy, careless powers. Busy forces. Energies. There are energies everywhere. And careless in the sense they are, each force has its own function. Each energy is moving according to its own orbit, in its own vibration. If you come in the way and you get hurt, well, you get hurt. It's not going to be kind to you. All these forces, we may call them gods, we may call them lesser gods, we may call them devils, but whatever you may call them, they are vital forces, they are physical forces, the forces of inertia. They're true to their role. Like in a play, every actor has to be true to his role. These forces are true to the role allotted to them. And their role is to move. And if you get in the way of the movement, then they throw you aside because you don't know how to master them. If I don't know how to master the force will master me. All powers are forces. Everything is a force. If I can master my energy, then I become the charioteer of my life. But if I allow that passion or violence or whatever desire to master me, then I am a slave. So this is the image of man, fit for a day's use by busy, careless powers. An image fluttering on the screen of fate. Not even real, just an image. Fate will finally destroy. This is the end. Where there is a beginning, there is an end. It's a temporary existence which really has very little value of its own. If I call this life all, everything, this is all life, this is all reality, then it's really just a game that these forces play with us. An image fluttering on the screen of fate, half animated for a passing show, like puppets. We are pushed and pulled by these forces. The puppet doesn't really move, it is moved. Man doesn't move, he is moved by different pulls and pushes. The most dangerous and difficult to control is desire, the cause of all our suffering, all our disappointments. So this is why if we who proudly say we are, we have to learn to be. We don't know how to be. We are half animated. We are not totally an expression even of the world of life. We are children also of darkness. Or a castaway on the ocean of desire, that is the problem. A castaway is a person who has been obliged to jump from the ship when the ship is breaking up. There's a storm, desire is like a storm, and you lose control. Your life, you're moving on the ocean in your bodily life. Your body is your ship. And when you are carried away by desire, you have no control. A castaway is someone who has to jump from the ship and hold on to some kind of whatever he can, a raft, a piece of wood, whatever, so that he doesn't sink. But it doesn't mean he can control his journey. He ends up wherever the wind and the water and the currents will take him. That's the way we live. We can't control our lives. We are pushed by all kinds of forces because of desire. And that is one of the first reasons why sages, like the Buddha for instance, recognized that the first thing one must do is to cut off the chain of desire. And that's the first of the four great truths. It is this that is attachment. Attachment leads to slavery. It is not liberation. So we are slaves. Or a castaway on the ocean of desire, or flung to the eddies in a ruthless sport. Eddies are the currents, whirlpools. The ocean moves in many ways. There are all kinds of currents that are below the surface that drag us down. We think we can control our lives, we lead our lives. We hardly lead our lives, we are led. We don't lead, we are led by this and that circumstance, or this desire, or that aspect of whatever goes on. Who are we to say we are free individuals? We are not free. We're completely slaves. So it is this that she has come to change. She has accepted this situation and said, this can't go on forever. If there is evolution, evolution doesn't stop halfway. We have evolved from the absolute unconscious. We have come to the level of mind and life and body. They have some consciousness, but not enough mastery. So we have to move ahead, move on. This is again one of the central themes in Aurobindo, that man is a transitional being. He is not finished his journey. He has to move ahead. But we don't know in which direction. So she has come, especially the force of change, and that is the Shakti, that is the mother, that is Savitri. It's a ray, a projection of the light, a ray of the sun. Otherwise, we are castaways on the ocean of desire, flung to the eddies in a ruthless sport. There is a certain pleasure these forces take. They have fun at our cost, just like we often have fun. When you want to crush an insect, or a cat plays with a mouse, there is a certain vital enjoyment of mastery and victory, which is of a very inferior order, but it is still there. Pleasure is very inferior. And tossed along the gulfs of circumstance. Another image, they're all images of bondage. A creature born to bend beneath the yoke. Just like the bullock. Once the yoke is put on his neck, the bullock is no longer free. Once we have accepted to put on the yoke of inconscience and death, we don't realize that we have accepted it. Unknowingly, we have accepted it. We have accepted our mortality. We haven't fought enough against it. So we have bent our heads. We have bowed down to death as the Supreme Lord. How then can we call ourselves capable of what we are asking for? God, light, freedom, immortality. We can never reach those things. So this is the yoke of slavery, the yoke of bondage, a chattel and a plaything of time's lords. Each one is an image of absolute, complete slavery. A chattel in the ancient times was a property that was movable, that belonged to a master. So, if a man had cows, wives, money, children, he wanted to travel, he could move with them. They had no say. If he wanted to move, if he wanted to go from one place to the other, they had to go with him. He could not carry his house with him. That is immovable property. The rest he can, even furniture if he wanted to, he could. In the ancient days, wealth was mainly counted in the form of cattle, cows and horses. All of these, they had no say in their own destinies. They were simply taken ahead this way or that, rightly or wrongly, by the owner. Now, if the owner here is time's lords, are the forces of time. Time is death, Kala is also death. They play. We are in the hands of these forces. Or one more pawn who comes destined to be pushed, one slow move forward on a measureless board, in the chess play of the earth soul with doom. This is another image. A pawn on a chessboard also has no voice. It is pushed around by the hand of the player. So there are many players, opponent players. There is the guide, and there is the one who is the opponent of the guide. Always there are opposites. We are at the mercy of either one or the other. Such is the human figure drawn by time. So it's not a very beautiful image of man who is often very proud of saying, I'm a man. I'm a slave. So that is again one of the essays Aurobindo wrote towards the end, man. Slave or free? What is he? Slavery is not slavery to a government, a political slave only. The Lord, who is a political ruler, is much more a slave, because he is the slave of power, a huge ego. You take all these rulers today, they seem to rule the world of money, the world of power. They are all slaves. What kind of lives do they have? Who are they? Completely bound to their possessions? Where is their heart? Where is their soul? Where is their deeper aspiration? Do they live for that? They're completely trapped. That is the whole problem. They are chattels of plaything of time's force. So you have a very long sentence describing the different aspects of the life of the average man, which is not the way Savitri is. One line as opposed to this long sentence. A conscious frame was here, a self-born force. She was not any of those things. She was not a castaway. She was not a chattel. She was a conscious frame. She has put on a body. The body is a frame. Knowingly she has come to the earth. But self-born. She is not part of the karmic chain or the evolutionary chain. The avatar is not an evolutionary being. We evolve from the lesser to the greater. Slowly we move up the incline. We often don't even move up. We sometimes go back down again. Whereas self-born, one of the terms in Sanskrit to describe the gods, Svajata, born of himself. He is not part of the causal chain. He is not caused by any previous karma. He is born of his own will. So she is very clearly here described as the divine.
Jhumur,
Yes.
so an avatar is not an evolutionary being?
No. Has chosen to come down to the earth. You see, we go from below upwards. The avatar, as the word itself says, has come down from above.
So he is
Avataran is coming down.
From the inconscient. He has directly come from.
But has accepted to enter into the inconscient. It is something that has come down from above, down, and has become part of the lower existence, shares the lower life. Whereas we have no knowledge that we are climbing up. We are born in the darkness, we try to move up to the light. She or he choose to come down. And when they do, they accept the conditions in which they come.
All the laws of the.
Yes, because otherwise, in order to be an exception, they don't need to come down. They don't become exceptions, they accept, but they know what they are getting into. For a reason. Every new age, every new evolutionary stage has always been brought about by an avatar. Someone who says, now the next age is ready, I will come and bring about the manifestation of a new possibility of consciousness. What is evolution? A manifestation of some conscious expression which until then was not yet so clearly expressed. Everything is there at the origin. In the inconscient, everything is already present. But gradually out of the absolute darkness, the first signs of light, of life, of mind, that is the symbol dawn that is there in the first canto. Slowly there is a breakthrough. But how is that push coming from below? Something is pushing. That involution of the divine who has come down already is there from before creation. And he pushes from below at every stage. But the resistance is always also there. So the avatar has to come and knowingly face the difficulty so that the difficulty can be solved. So here the contrast, a conscious frame was there, a self-born force. And that's exactly what your question is. In this enigma of the dusk of God, the divine who seems to have become darkened. That's the enigma, it's a riddle. In this enigma of the dusk of God. But who is this enigma? Man. Man is this enigma. The darkened God is man. And it is, the whole game is this, to remove that veil of darkness. In this enigma of the dusk of God, this slow and strange, uneasy compromise. Every compromise is uneasy. No compromise is satisfying. It's a slow compromise between different forces. Now this one side seems to be in control, and then the other side takes over. Sometimes there is more light, and then there is darkness. Sometimes the power of darkness engulfs the earth. It's not a continuous journey. So when we look at the world today and see how there is so much suffering, so much destruction, you say, what is happening? So many battles and wars are taking place. So many people are suffering. Somebody was asking me the other day about why has she allowed Gaza to happen? It is the whole story of man. It's not that she will smooth our road all the time and we will just walk on the sunlit path. We can't. There is too much darkness in the collectivity, in the individual, in the whole earth as a whole semi-conscious planet, because it turns to the sun, it turns away from the sun. And so there is light, there is darkness. It is a strange thing. It's slow, strange, uneasy compromise of limiting nature with a limitless soul. This is man. Limitless soul, yes. Accept that soul has accepted to enter into the finite. The infinite has entered into the finite. So that the finite can be transformed into the infinite. But first, the infinite has hidden himself in the finite, that is the soul. The outer being is the limited, finite nature. Whatever is finite is incomplete, is not infinite, is not endless. And so, this is the enigma, where all must move between an ordered chance. It's almost an oxymoron, play of opposites. Chance, we say, is something you did not expect from before. And yet ordered chance, as if every step of the way is prepared by a previous step. But we are so ignorant, we have forgotten that today what is happening to me, which I may call, I fell down by chance, I say. There is no such thing. I was unaware. That falling down was because I was unaware. So there is a reason, there is a purpose. There is no such thing as chance. Chance is a term born out of ignorance. We don't want to see very carefully, watch ourselves very carefully. We don't know much, but we think we know much. That is our problem. So all must move between an ordered chance and an uncaring blind necessity. Necessity is an inherent law. It is there, what has to be. What has to be will be. If you get hurt, well, you fall by the wayside. We say there is grace. Yes, there is grace. There is also something that is at work, and there are aspects of the mother's work described in the book The Mother. She is the warrior of the worlds. She fights. Whoever comes in the way of the manifestation of the divine will has to be eliminated. You say this is not an aspect of kindness or gentleness by the mother, but no. The gentleness and the sweetness is there, but the power of working out the divine plan is there. When a plan has to be done, whatever comes in the way of the working out of the plan has to be removed. This is the uncaring, blind necessity. If it is like that, since man is aware that there is in him, sometimes at least he is aware, that there is in him a flame, an aspiration, he can connect with his psychic being sometimes, and yet he is incapable of mastering his destiny or his outer nature. He remains man. He's neither here nor there. He doesn't make a choice. Too high the fire spiritual dare not blaze. This is why there is a fear. It's a very common fear of the spiritual life. We have to give up everything to take up the spiritual life. You don't have to actually give up anything except your attachment to your ego and your ignorance. But this is what we are so attached to. Our beliefs, our ego, our ignorance. Therefore, you have that kind of a compromise, like we or most of us do. We have a relationship with the mother and Sri Aurobindo. We visit the Samadhi. We say our prayers, no doubt. And yet, the rest also is there. We don't give up everything else either, because it's not easy. You have to tear out everything. The root is, go deep, deep inside and tear out that, the bleeding roots, as Sri Aurobindo describes. Take out that inconscience. It's not easy, and therefore people don't take it up. Not so easily. Even the disciples. If once it met the intense original flame, an answering touch might shatter all measures made. We live in a world of limits. If we come out of the limits and we meet that original flame, we burn. We can't. We don't dare. If we want the image of certain seekers or lovers of the Mother or the Divine, wanting to have the experience of the direct perception of the Divine, and they start shaking or they burn up, like Semele was burnt up when she wanted to see the father of her child, who was Dionysos. He was Zeus. She insisted on seeing the father of the child, and she was burnt to ashes that same moment. And that is the image that is suggested. An answering touch might shatter all measures made, and earth sink down with the weight of the infinite. And this is the whole problem. It is too big a burden. We can't carry that burden unless we become inwardly strong. Therefore, a jail is this immense material world. This is the original English spelling. It is not. American is Jail. The original English is Gaol. So it's not goal or gaol, it's jail. We are in a jail. We are prisoners. We are prisoners of a dwarf humanity. A jail is this immense material world. Across each road stands armed a stone-eyed law. At every gate, the huge, dim sentinel space. And so, we can end with that, thinking of how the Lord entered the jail and found liberation in the jail. He did. The sentinels were manifestations of the divine. The gratings of the door were expressions of the Lord. There was no jail because his consciousness had become one with the divine. Until then, if we are trapped in our littleness and the material world, then it is a jail. And there are laws that are unbreakable. The laws, we think we want immortality. We do. So you want to prolong your life. So you go to doctors, or you even replace your heart, or you do all sorts of things. In the end, it's pointless. Unless you become one with the source of all conscious life, we cannot have immortality. And yet we want it. We don't like death. That's the problem. Okay.
Jhumur, I have a question.
Yes?
You spoke about avatars. I said not evolutionary beings. What about devotees? Mother had mentioned about them.
Yes. They are not complete embodiments of the divine. They are projections that come down for a purpose. And for a particular one aspect of the divine, for a purpose of the divine work, they come. Once that is done, they withdraw. But they don't change the course of evolution, but avatars do.